spent in a miserable way.
U.S. News: Republicans seize on late-term abortion as a potent 2020 issue. The New York Times. What you need to know to start this day. When New York expanded abortion rights last week for the first time in 49 years, Democrats across the state were exultant. Now that you had abortion advocates, from grassroots activists all the way to the White House, are taking aim at New York, Virginia and other states in a bid to halt similar legislative efforts by emboldened Democratic lawmakers and to mobilize supporters ahead of the 2020 presidential race. By Thursday, both President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence had leaned into the debate, homing in on provisions that would loosen some restrictions on late-term abortion. Mr. Trump wrote, "Until we heard those cheers coming from Albany, Mr. Pence, we thought states were moving beyond such barbaric practices." Republican opposition has focused particularly on a provision in the New York and Virginia proposals to allow abortion in the final trimester to protect the health of the mother. New York's after the 24th week of a pregnancy when there is an absence of fetal viability, or the abortion is necessary to protect the patient's life or health. By a Democratic, late-term abortions are rare. About 1.3% of abortions performed in the United States in 2015 took place in or after the 21st week. Mr. Pence offered his argument as a litmus test of morality. He described the "it's going to come into play, quite frankly, in the elections next year. We're not going to let you're going to see articles written and speeches, and our affiliates around the country are going to take it up," Mr. Bice added. She singled out Ms. Tran that she misspoke and that the bill would not allow the prevention of a live birth. Nonetheless, the clip of her initial comments, already viral, was further amplified when Virginia's Democratic Governor, Ralph Northam, was asked during a radio interview on Wednesday about Ms. Tran's bill. Mr. Northam, conservatives seized upon the answer as proof that Mr. Northam approves of killing an infant even after it was delivered, even as Mr. Northam's office said the reply was taken out of context and called the idea that he would support such a proposal disgusting. That's going to be played in legislative bodies around the country or at least used to lobby, Mr. Bice, of the National Right to Life Committee, said. It already has. Virginia's Republican Party sent a fundraising email with the clip of the Virginia lawmaker. The National Abortion, along with the composition of the nation's top courts, has proved one of the most unifying issues for the right. Mr. Trump I think it's a combination, for both Trump and Pence, of deep personal convictions on the issue combined with what they correctly perceived as very good politics, said Ralph Reed, the head of the Faith and Freedom Coalition and a prominent conservative commentator. Mr. Trump it is a way for him to remind the voters that 2020 is not going to be a referendum on the personality of the candidates, Mr. Reed added of the president. It's going to be the debate is similar to the impassioned battles that took place in the mid-1990s, when conservatives, led by the National Right to Life movement, coined the term partial birth abortions to describe a rare procedure known as dilation and evacuation, which can be deployed in later term abortions under dire circumstances, like when a mother's life is at stake. Still, the backlash to the procedure was so strong that Democrats in the House joined Republicans in voting for a federal ban on such abortions in 1995 and again in 1997. President Bill Clinton, nearly 2 decades later, Mr. Trump conjured the same imagery in his final debate with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Mr. Trump said, "It was at that moment that Mr. Trump closed the deal with evangelical and other voters opposed to abortion," said Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, a conservative Christian activist group. Mr. Reed said Mr. Trump should reprise that strategy next year.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,